Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another backstage interview with the Metals Investor Forum. I am joined right now by Peter Akerley of Erdene Resource Development. And you may have just heard my dog bark downstairs, but such is the world of working from home. Peter, MIF was actually, we're recording this an entire week after the conference, and in that week you did put out one piece of news. So let's start with that. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which was already an investor, increased their stake.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Gwen, and good to be back on the interview side with you. We announced the European Bank's participation in the project last October when they put in a $5 million convertible, US $5 million convertible. And this past week, we just announced that they have converted. So they become our second largest shareholder at around 11.5%, just behind Eric Sprott, who came in recently with a $15 million investment. So they're kind of neck and neck in terms of our largest shareholders.
Right.
The importance of that from a corporate planning perspective is that it moves EBRD off of the security of license that they held as part of that convertible. And as you know, we're working hard towards a debt package for the Bayan Khundii Gold Project. And that work really started in earnest with the delivery of the feasibility in September. We're in those discussions now with various parties and feeling pretty good about that, but we did need to free up the runway for that security for the primary lender.
For sure. So it's easier for you to have those finance conversations. EBRD wasn't under any gun, though, to do this conversion, right? They've done this quite a bit earlier than any timeline required.
Well, they were to some extent. It doesn't look quite as impactful today as it did when we reached the agreement back in October of last year, but they had to pay increasing premiums each calendar year to convert.
Oh, right.
So mid-October would have caused them to go up another 10% in their cost on that premium.
Oh, okay. But it certainly speaks to EBRD maintaining their level of engagement in the project and you know doing their part to help it advance.
Absolutely, a great partner to have in Mongolia. I think many of your listeners familiar with our company would recognize now that the European Bank is the largest foreign investor in Mongolia. They have over $2 billion at stake in various projects, mostly in the mining industry. They're a difficult partner to secure because of the level of due diligence that they go through, particularly on the ENS side. And I think it's a testament to the quality of the work that we've presented, particularly in our ESIA in that case, to have secured them. So yeah, a great partner to have, perhaps one of the best partners you could have in a developing country.
Let's shift gears a little bit. That's the news that just came out. The next news, I would guess, will be further drill results because you've been pretty busy on that front. If you want to capture sort of the overall goal of the drill campaign, you certainly talked about that in your presentation, but just paint that picture a little bit. And then maybe let's focus on like what is the next set of results? If people are keen to follow news closely, what's next in the pipeline for results from your drill program?
So when you look at the big picture of our drilling campaign, we have three priority targets. It's the low-hanging fruit around the Bayan Khundii deposit, it's the dark horse Altan Arrow area, and then Altan Nar. And today we have approximately 1.1 million ounces in resource at 2.5 grams. I see the potential with what we sort of have vision on today as being able to target up to 2 million ounces in those three areas. And that's sort of the approach at a high level, you know, looking at inferred spacing, that type of thing, to go into these three areas and start to get our arms around that type of potential. If we're successful, then next year we can begin to bring that into higher confidence reserves. So 18,000 meters dedicated this calendar year to complete that drilling. We've done most of the work we needed to at Bayan Khundii. We've done a first pass at Dark Horse, really a regional scoping level, if you will, to allow us to understand better the geology and mineralization to focus more in phase 2, which will start later this month. And then we'll get up to Altan Nar in the latter part of the year. So that's kind of the big picture in terms of the overall goals. Getting into the targets and dissecting a little bit more what we hope to see come out of the results over the near term, over the next few weeks. We have a number of stages at the Bayan Khundii deposit that we're working through. So I announced North Midfield, the deepest part of the deposit, 10 days ago, we had some good results there that showed we could expand beyond the walls of the economic deposit. We are now working through the results, or expecting the results on Midfield Southeast, which is the very high grade zone that we intersected in July. In fact, we had 4 ounces over 5 meters near surface. So we're hoping to see high grades along strike of that feeder structure. And we have 8 holes pending that should be out in the next couple of weeks. Prior to that, ideally next week, we'll see the final results come in from Dark Horse, so we can get that initial maiden drilling program for that area in the market. And then the last one, probably still 3 or 4 weeks out before we get all of the results, is Striker South and Striker Southwest. And that's largely the bulk of where the resources sit outside of the economic pit. So if we can get some of the continuity we expect, some higher grades in that area, we can begin to shift that into the economic pit as well. So in that area around Bayan Khundii, there's about 200,000 ounces of 3 grams just sitting in a resource outside of the pit, but there's additional resources we're aware of outside of the constrained pit. So lots of room there to expand. So those 2 areas we'll get that information on in the next 3 or 4 weeks out into the market. The drills will be turning again by then, moving into phase 2. A little bit more work to do around Bayan Khundii, but mostly starting to shift up into Dark Horse to follow up on the results that we get there.
I mean, basically, this conversation sort of captures why Erdene to me fits into that that hybrid mold that I love so much, which is this fundamental value. I mean, you have a very strong asset in terms of, you know, the economic model for this mine, this feasibility stage mine that you're working on a finance package for and could be in production in a year. But at the same time, I mean, you have a bunch of core in the lab that has visible gold in it. Like, you have both of these things going on at exactly the same time.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being in a better position, particularly in a hot gold market. Seriously, you know, after 30 years of looking for it, to be sitting here with a 60 to 80,000 ounce production scenario from a deposit that doesn't have a really high capex, that isn't a complicated project, it has simple metallurgy, it's open pit. You know, all of these projects have their bumps along the way, but when I look at this, I just don't see any real fundamental issues that we face. So you get that to production, and you have, at current gold prices, $50 million a year US in free cash flow to continue to expand this district, which is the best district from a opportunity perspective I've seen in the 30 years I've been in this business. It's almost unthinkable to think that we found 2 high-grade deposits just poking up through surface, and there's not more in this district that's so fertile. So we're really excited about having the opportunity with the cash we've just raised to be able to be more aggressive on the exploration front while bringing that project to production.
Fun times for sure. The idea of having $50 million in free cash flow for you, for someone who's worked in Mongolia for a long time and is so keen to test so many ideas and targets, I mean, that must just be tantalizing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait.
Fantastic. All right, well, stay in touch because there's lots of news obviously in the hopper. And thanks for joining me here today.